right. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Good, very good, very good. Now we get to some real conversation, right? But let's give it up to Joseph and Alan for putting on an amazing conference.
Wow,
here in
fantastic.
Los Angeles. So for the next 40 minutes, we're going to talk about blockchain for social good. And I'm going to ask my fellow panelists to do lightning round introductions of who they are, so you'll have some context of the people that are here and the conversation we're about to have. And I'll start us off. I'm Rodney Sampson from Atlanta, Georgia. I run a business called Opportunity Hub, which is an inclusive innovation, entrepreneurship, and investment ecosystem building platform to ensure that people of color from socially disadvantaged communities have access to the innovation economy as a path to wealth creation. I also serve as a senior fellow at the Brookings Institute out of Washington, D.C., and professor of entrepreneurship at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. Devin?
I'm Devin Thorpe. I am honored to sit next to Rodney. I like to brag that Rodney wrote the foreword to my book, Crowdfunding for Social Good. He's also the author of Kingonomics. Did you say that?
I did. I forgot about the book.
But Kingonomics is a really important book, and so go read that. Don't read mine.
No, read Devin's.
And I am a contributor to Forbes. I cover social entrepreneurship and impact investing, and in that context, I started covering blockchain issues about 3 years ago. So I've done a number of pieces about that and love to see the great trends toward real impact in the blockchain community.
Great. I'm Stephen E. Schmitt, and I'm honored to be with all these authors because I'm a publisher and also an author myself. I actually sold 2 million books worldwide, and I've been honored to work with authors like Dr. Wayne Dyer, Anthony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, and I'm here, and I'm honored to be here too because I do some books that are many people, and I'm doing a cryptocurrency book. And Elon and also Joseph's are in the book. So I'm actually looking for 30 people out there that want to write a story in this next book. And so I'll talk more about it, but thank you, and I'm honored to be here.
Welcome.
I'm Joy Case, an author and speaker on blockchain technologies for social impact. And a long time ago, I wrote a book called Crowd Power in the Age of Human Potential. The macro concepts are very worthy of a conversation today, although the technology, of course, was outmoded the date that I signed off on the ink. So I'm very excited that now we can apply blockchain to doing a world of good. And my current company is called Lava Blockchain Technologies, Inc. And we are NewCo. We are setting up to solve point of sale for crypto holders so that you'll be able to use your crypto at the restaurant, the grocery store. And we are involved with the fluidity of cryptocurrency.
Hi, my name is Tom Meredith, and I'm the founder of a company called BitMinutes. For the last 10 years, I've been working on electronic cash. I actually wrote a patent. I'm not a published author like everyone else here, so I'm lucky to be on the panel with so many erudite folks. But for the last 5 years, we've been working on building out the BitMinutes ecosystem, where we have two things that we're trying to impart to the financially underserved, the 2 billion people who are unbanked, free money transfer, where 4 billion phones can receive BitMinutes and either use it to top up a phone or to actually turn in the cash, and then secondarily to use those BitMinutes as a form of escrow to borrow money. And we can make a loan as low as $5 and make it profitably, and that's the whole goal we're trying to reach for the unbanked. So again, I'm glad to be on this panel, and thank you very much.
Very good. Let's welcome our panel this afternoon. Well, let's quickly find out a little bit about who the people in the room are. It'd be interesting for us to know how many of you consider yourselves to be investors. Very good. That's a good amount of people. How many of you consider yourselves to be entrepreneurs, building products, building companies, developing? Very good, very good. How many of you consider yourselves to be philanthropists? Very good. Fewer, but very good. How many of you run NGOs or nonprofit organizations or foundations? Good.
Oh, good.
Good, good. We have some folks who are multiple archetypes, so good. I think it'd be good for the conversation, you know, and we don't have to take time to kind of get a working definition of blockchain. Hopefully you have that by being here and everything that the cryptograph offers. But what I'd like to do is establish for at least the next 30 minutes or so is a working definition of social good. That is an incredibly broad construct and can mean so much to so many people. And so it would be helpful if our panelists could help us understand when they hear social good, what do they mean? And then what is your cause? And Joy, I want to start with you, and then we'll just pick up from there.
Okay, social good. I like to think about in terms of a trust in value, the value that we bring to the table as human beings. What is it that is in us that we came here to do, to express, to be? And that sounds very esoteric, but then we think from that place, what is self-governance? What is personal responsibility? What is restorative justice? And how can those be framed for the social good construct? So a working definition of social good, we come to this place where we have our gifts and talents, and how can we use that to bring people to a place of just, fair, and equitable democratic processes.
Excellent. Tom, you want to add to that?
Well, I'm kind of almost at the opposite end of the spectrum. We've been plumbing for so many years now. We've been working on building this global network out that all I can think about is plumbing issues. Because the whole concept here is that we're trying to get credit into the hands of the unbanked. And when you look at this, it's a global problem and a global opportunity, obviously. And this wonderful thing about blockchain and tokenization enables us now to cost effectively reach out to these people, but still it's a huge, huge, huge problem. And the whole idea from my perspective of social good is let's get $5 into the hands of people where $5 makes a difference. So you say, great, let's do that. Then you say, well, how do you do that? And then becomes the plumbing issue. So I agree with everything Joy said. I love it. I couldn't agree more. But all I think about all day, I mean, it's just very plebeian. It's like, how do I get the physical cash out of the ground where it's been buried, or under the mattress where it's been hidden, or in the cookie jar? And how do we put that into use? Which means there's a whole host of issues that you have to solve in terms of making it economically feasible, and how do you, how do you create the marketing message, and it just goes on and on and on. It's taken us 5 years to get here. So yes, social good, but there's a heck of a lot of plumbing issues that have to be solved to make it happen.
Well, I think to your point, and we're seeing this in philanthropy now, even with some of the larger family offices and foundations that have, been using tax, shelters to distribute some of their money. Now they're wanting to distribute more of it to causes. But what we've realized, or what they've realized, is that they have to operate like a business. They have to have systems in place. And, Steve, you talk about systems in your work in terms of like productizing the process. I know you do it in publishing, but at the same time, it applies to like running a cause. Because at the end of the day, the causes are our response to problems and challenges, whether they're in the marketplace, the workplace, or just in society in general. And there's always this conversation about sustainability. It's one thing to identify a cause. It's one thing to have a solution to the cause, to the problem with the cause, but how do you sustain its funding to the point that it even becomes sustainable itself? But would you give us your working definition of social good just through your lens and some of the work that you've done?
Sure. For me, this all started as social good. In 1994, I had a dream, and a loud voice said, write a book. And, part about social good is, being on purpose, doing something great, waking up and loving what you're doing, and going through the plumbing, if it's not your purpose, guess what? You're going to quit. And one thing is great about life, we all could have a purpose, but without cash flow, no purpose, right? So money is only energy in a sense, currency, right? So when you have that passion and you get the right money in, then you continue to keep on going. You're always going to have challenges, always obstacles. The only thing that's not going to stop you is if it's your purpose. When you have that burning desire, there's no way that you could stop it. You just keep on going. And so social good is like, why are you on this planet? What are you here for? And I ask myself, what am I doing in this crypto space? Because I believe in it. I just feel it. I believe in it. And I believe in wake up is all about sharing the truth. So social good is sharing the truth and really having purpose in life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Devin, I'm very familiar with your work and how you literally, travel the world bringing attention to some incredible disparities. I mean, you would see some of the stuff, and I've watched your work, and you say, how is that even still happening on this planet? It would be incredibly helpful if you could give us your definition of social good just through your work and through your lens.
Thanks, Rodney. We sometimes use the word purpose as being almost synonymous with social good. But let me be really clear. I can feel a great sense of purpose around becoming wealthy, right? And there may be some people in this room for whom that is the defining purpose of their lives and why they're here today. And I'm not going to say that wealth is evil or wealth is bad, but I will say wealth is not a definition of social good in my book. Social good is much more grounded in solving real problems. And you asked earlier about our personal mission. And I define my mission this way. I'm too ambitious by half, I know. But I define my mission as to ending extreme poverty, improving global health, and mitigating climate change by 2045. And I'm passionate about solving those problems. Those are big, real, tangible problems. People are living and dying by these every single day. I'm no different than the rest of you. I spend a lot of time being tempted by money and other interesting things. But that's my true north. That's what guides me. That's what I'm working toward. And so I love to bring light to processes and people and projects that are addressing one or all of those things.
I think that was incredible. And I think one of the action items to take away from this respective session is to understand why you were created. Napoleon Hill talks about definitive purpose, right? And, why did you survive? Why did you overcome? Why did you get the invite? Why do you have a network? Why do you have access? And why do you have opportunity? Is it just for your own personal gain? Or can some of it be shared through programs and opportunities that would also lend a hand to someone else as well? And so one, I think, an action item is to know why you were created. And I know I have a lot of friends, and what makes us different is we've been successful, we've made money, we've lost money, we've made it again, we've created multi-generational wealth with no reliance on pre-existing multi-generational wealth. But some people have just a different purpose of living and existence. So they work hard, but they give hard. And I think there's a balance of the two that can be accomplished. And I'd like to jump in that a little bit in terms of, I get a lot of data from the work I do at Brookings and from the Federal Reserve Board and from different think tanks. And what literally keeps me up at night, I know we're here talking about blockchain and crypto, but when you look at just the fourth industrial revolution and you look at the future of work and how innovation density is a huge contributor to income segregation and income inequality. And so when you look at where the future is headed, what keeps me up at night is how do we provide people with skills, people with opportunities, and people with access when they don't even know that these places and spaces even exist. And I think as stakeholders in an industry and stakeholders in a space or an ecosystem, that's the buzzword now, we have a fiduciary responsibility to be that conduit back to people that may not know about the opportunities that we've been afforded.
You know,
Jump in, please.
Rodney, when you talk about that, my mind immediately goes to young people, whether we're talking about college or 6-year-old girls in Zimbabwe and their need for education so that they can connect to this global economy and to the blockchain community included. Mm-hmm. But we need to remember that there are 43-year-olds and 62-year-olds that lost their job last week because of technology, and they desperately need new education and a new framework, or they will fail to participate in the global economy, and they'll fall right out of that middle class they've been a part of.
That's so true, and feel free to jump in at any given time, but I think as an industry, we've got to have a skills initiative. We've got to get people who want to skill up, whether that's learning how to build DApps, whether that's building mining servers, whatever technicality you want to apply to it. We've got to skill up a generation, not just young, but mature as well. Mm-hmm. Or, I'm not going to forecast anarchy or what have you, but when you have haves and have-nots at scale, what starts to happen is you have an unraveling of society. And I think for the first time in history, we're seeing huge amounts of multi-generational wealth being created in shorter periods of time, more efficiently, with a more automated, skilled workforce than we've ever seen, ever. And the bright minds that are developing the platforms and, you can fork Ethereum, but can you solve world hunger, right? I think you can, because the same knowledge and skills that you can place on solving something that's never been created before, building something from nothing, right, can also be applied as well. And Tom, you're doing some of that with the platform that you're building as well. Let's shift to a next set of questions for the technologists in the room. How do you envision, if you're not using it in your respective work, how do you envision actually using the blockchain in your particular industry or supply chain? It'd be interesting to know from that perspective. And we can come down.
Yeah, it's basically the blockchain gives you the ability to record things. Okay, so when I go to Joy and say, hey, I'd like to buy something in your store, and I just want to use my phone. Okay, now this is happening in Kenya. Everyone here familiar with M-Pesa, by any chance? Yep. Raise your hand. M-Pesa is a closed-loop system, okay? They haven't been able to really replicate the success, and there's a number of reasons for it. There's a loophole in the banking system, et cetera. There was a dominant player, so there were clear business reasons as to why M-Pesa was so dominant. But now it accounts for 2/3 of the GDP of the entire country of Kenya. Unable to replicate this because you got the banks and you got the carriers kind of fighting each other for the wallet share, because everybody wants to get these 4 billion unbanked people and give them a wallet to provide those banking services to them. So in our case, we've created a universal token that can be used today by 4 billion people. So Joy's carrier will accept the bit minutes, his carrier will accept, all these carriers globally will accept it. Well, that's great. They like this because we're selling, in essence, your carrier's minutes. Well, that's great, but the next step is how do you get that $5 into that person's hands? Well, you have to encourage them to come in to get a wallet, to get digitized, to turn the phone that they all have. Everybody has a phone on the planet. It's the most amazing thing, getting back to what you were saying, Rodney, in terms of kind of things have kind of leapfrog, but the phone is the great equalizer for all these people. Everybody has a phone. Everybody over the age of 12 on the planet has a phone. It's crazy. Wow. So the whole concept then is how do you take that phone and then get that wallet on there, because everybody wants the wallet. You got to have a token that acts as the interoperability standard between all these different phones, all these different carriers. The banks are chasing the same people. So again, getting back to the plumbing, and I'm not going to get too techie, but the blockchain writes all this stuff out. So when I go to Joy and say, I'd like to buy that, in Kenya, it's a closed loop system. We both have to have M-Pesa. But with bit minutes, the bit minute can be sent from your closed loop system to your closed loop system to your closed loop system and then turned into fiat. So that kind of breaks the barriers between all these various carriers and banks who have their own proprietary closed loop systems. So the token acts as the interoperability standard, which we've built this to global ISO banking standards. So this token's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It's backed by prepaid phone time, which all of your carriers accept. So the carriers are happy. The banks, now Western Union's not going to be happy with us because we're doing all this for free. So
That's all right.
yeah, no, that's okay. It's okay because
It's okay to disrupt an industry.
it's okay. It's okay. I shed no tears.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is free money transfer to get the fluidity going and to coalesce around a standard. And then the lending part is where it gets interesting because now I'm just going to say to you, hey, if you come into my store, I'll loan you $5. So there's this tremendous then, you know, hey, how do I get the $5 loan? So, you know, she comes into my store, I sign you up, and now we inject cash coming from the philanthropies or coming from grants. We're working on some very large contracts to do this on a country scale with many countries. But the whole idea is to inject liquidity into just giving access to capital. That's the key. How do you get access and how do you do it profitably for $5? Blockchain enables that.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for that use case. Joy, do you have a use case that
Yes,
you
I was just, one of the key words I heard you speak is interoperability, and this is one of the kinks in the proverbial chain. So we need to learn how blockchains can be interoperable one with another. When we talk about the ledger of all things, we go into IoT and we look at different ways in which blockchains will communicate one with another. And so by having a coin, you solve interoperability within the network which you created. But I'd like us to extrapolate that and think about the blockchain systems around the world. How are they going to communicate one with another? And by using the word communicate, I like to point us to back to what you said about having these new skill sets coming out from people who are going to be playing in this new world market. Where are they going to learn how to up-level, upskill for today's day and age? And I sit on the board of a really fascinating company called expertcoin.com out of a Harvard Innovation Lab. And what they are, they're a protocol for AI-powered learning economies and marketplaces. So they're building these new large decentralized networks of marketplaces called republics, where they aim to upskill people in this new digital economy. And I think when we're talking about bringing these groups together and the new education, how people are going to learn about it, I think we can get very lost in the technology. We get so excited about it and wrapped up about what blockchain can do. But we are the ones that program the smart contracts. We are only as smart as the contracts that we can program. And I think what we need to do is not get so carried away about blockchain, but more educate people who are looking to solve global challenges, as Devin is, on having a channel track of cultural innovation that we need to look at simultaneous to blockchain innovation. We have to look at these two channels. What I'm talking about is looking at principles of permaculture, looking at the circular economy, looking at cooperative models. We need to consider all these innovations within culture and communications in alignment and in channel conjunction with our use of blockchain technology, so we don't do too deep dive over here and forget how we're going to communicate one with another to make it all make sense to better humanity.
Beautiful. Thank you. Do you gentlemen have a use case?
Well, you know, for me, I just want to share that, you know, sitting here just hearing all these stories, I'm a story guy, and I know everybody out there has a story too. You know, Devin, you know, helping with poverty and having that as passion. And that's what I'm looking for is, 30 or more stories in this book. And I have marketing down. You talk about blockchain and systems. I make every book that I do bestsellers, New York Times or Amazon bestsellers. So hearing all these stories really excite me. And I know out here in the audience, you guys have stories too. But one way of like putting 30 people in one business, okay? One business, you could move mountains with one business. And putting 30 people with one book, not only the book itself, but the 30 people getting to know each other in that book. So Devin is helping with poverty, but maybe somebody has a little bit more money that could help him, and he helps out, and it's all really helping in that 30 people in the book. And then also getting this story out. A lot of this blockchain and cryptocurrency, sometimes you guys speak to me and it goes way over my head. And, really, we need to make it simple too. How do we explain what we're talking about really simple? And a lot of you guys are really smart people out there, really smart. And sometimes you have to sort of like make it where people really understand it. And that's what Wake Up comes along, is putting everybody together. And so you get your story out, you get your story out, and then everybody helps with each other's purpose. And that's what one book with, all these people helping with purpose, and it's just touching many people. So I want to hear other stories out there, because I know you're sitting there, you may be an investor, you may be, you have a company. I want to hear that story because I'm really excited, and I really do believe 100% I'm sitting here because it's part of my purpose.
Thank you. Any use cases?
Well, yeah,
Any
there's
ideas?
there's some great ones. In the sort of poverty realm, I see a lot of people doing variations on Bit Minute, not to be take away anything from what Tom is doing, but 5 years ago, there was a lot of talk about using blockchain and crypto for delivering, banking the unbanked. Well, now there are dozens of people actually working on technology to do that. It's no longer chit-chat, it's action. I love that. I did a story a couple of weeks ago about the Packet Project. They're doing logistics that will allow someone to send a package from a rural village in Kenya to a rural village in Nepal.
Wow.
That's radical. That's radical. So, the guy in Kenya doesn't have to drive into Nairobi, take a day off work to go ship a package. He can do it from his village. This is radical. That can be used for delivering vaccines and medicines all around the world, right to the people who need them, out in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, the middle of nowhere is as convenient as Manhattan. So very exciting on the health front.
Yeah.
And then third, when we're talking about climate change now, people are using blockchain in several different ways to track carbon sequestration, et cetera. So the idea of, don't go freak out, but a carbon tax or a cap and trade, blockchain is going to enable all kinds of different possibilities for getting our hands around climate change too. So lots of great use cases out there.
That's incredible. And I like to, just from my vantage point, share some ideation, some open ideation of some stuff we're thinking about. So Opportunity Hub is a 7-year operating entity. Started off as really philanthropy on behalf of my wife to create kind of these safe spaces, these co-working spaces for folks to come and build and work on their ideas. That evolved into a coding boot camp in school, and then a venture fund where we invested in high growth companies. And now we're productizing that business through national programs. But one of the things that we're teaching young people, and these are mostly young people of color here in America, what we're teaching them is what is the definition of wealth? Assets minus liabilities, because no one is giving them a fundamental definition of what wealth is. They're learning through education what income is. And we all know that you can have good income, but still live above your means, and your wealth not match that. And then there's U.S. Census data that lays out what the wealth gap in this country is between socially disadvantaged communities or what have you. So we're teaching the wealth gap. And so we've got a couple students at Howard University in D.C. and at Morehouse in Atlanta that are blockchain developers. They've been working at Coinbase and summer internships. And so we've been ideating the creation of what we call a wealth score. If we could assign literally a wealth score to an individual, and they know at any given time, based upon their work, the equities they hold, the stocks, the bonds, the real estate, et cetera. They know what their assets are minus their liabilities at any given time. And this wealth score could follow them. And then people who have resources that wanted to invest in their skills development, invest in providing them with paid internships and jobs, or invest in their startup could then track their economic output or social impact by tying it confidentially to that wealth score. And we think that now you can go throughout life knowing what your wealth score is, so when it's time to pass something on to your children and your children's children, you have a working definition of wealth, and you're working intentionally towards becoming wealthy for good, and then that kind of spurs the future impact. You know, so that's some of the use cases. I just mostly recently sponsored a cohort of about 30 students to go through a blockchain development course headquartered in Atlanta at Morehouse College. And so these are folks who are being exposed to development and technology for the first time. How do we scale that for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of people that have to fill the jobs of the future? Because if we don't, then we'll be working for robots, because robots will be telling us what the jobs are, right? I want to jump into some questions in the audience. And if you have a question, there are 2 microphones here. We have a little bit under 9 minutes left. Now, my first question to the audience is, does the person who funded the Pineapple Fund, are they here? Anybody remember someone was holding a ton of Bitcoin and set up this anonymous Pineapple Fund, as they called it, and they were basically seeding nonprofits and social enterprises, I think to the tune of like $50 million.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know if you were here, we'd all like to meet you.
Yeah.
Okay, first question.
Good day, name's Jamari Peterson. I work with the Digital Reserve. We're working to eliminate predatory lending, and I'm really passionate about the social good space. However, as you can see, like there's not a lot of people in this room, and that's endemic of an issue within the social good blockchain space, which is we're not creating incentive mechanisms within what we're talking about that actually causes investors to still want to be in the room to contribute to the impact investing which we're discussing. So what are some of the things that you're seeing, or that visions that you have, or ways that you're seeing to mitigate some of that, so as we can bring the people that need to be into the room to participate inside ecosystems that are beneficial for those at the bottom and at the top simultaneously in a way that is holistic. And that is what we're working on, but I want to know what you're working on or see, so as I can also crib notes from them as well.
Sure, great question. Once again, how many investors are in the room, just to get a poll? All right, so there are a few that are in here. Anyone want to address that?
I would love to. Put up your hand if you don't care about anything. There's nothing that gets you out of bed in the morning. You don't care about the welfare of children or animals, or you don't care about your neighbor, you don't care. Okay, right. So everybody has a cause that they care about. Everybody has something on their heart that they want to contribute to that's important to them. Okay, so social good exists in us all, for us all. So I think that we need to look at building membership communities around causes that we care about. And that's what I'm aiming to do through the Lava Blockchain Technologies. So we give our membership community a tool that enables them to use their crypto at point of sale. So this tool, this actual community card through our membership, you can go pay your groceries, your gas, you can load up all your monthly payments, your mortgage, your car payment, everything on one low payment to use with this crypto card. But the neat thing about it is that that's just the tool for the membership. It's all about the membership. And then we reinvest the money that we make through transaction fee back into our membership, back into the people, and back into what the people care about. We're not looking at causes. We're not looking at not-for-profits or NGOs. We're looking at people. What does the member care about? We will quarterly gift to our members based on what concerns them. So to answer your question in a way that I think we're solving this problem is we're creating a large membership network of people that care. And in that, we've given them a tool. And this tool happens to have an amazing ROI for the investors who first invest. One of our target client is Gen Global, the Entrepreneurship Network, because we want to support members who are also entrepreneurs and give back to them. And so we look at a 10 million membership, if only 2% come with us, and if they load up all of their bill payments into one payment, let's just say for sake 5,000 a month, which would be some more wealthy American who's involved with that network. And then we look at a transaction fee, not ours, but all of the revenue sources we've identified, and include that in, say, 2.5%, we're looking at about 25 million a month revenue on just one source of income from the system. So in saying that, we're giving a great return on investment to our investors, but we're giving our members a tool that they can use, and we're looking to this wider membership to say, now how can we support our members? We really like people before profit. So yes, we have a profit mechanism for the investor, but more importantly to us, we've got a membership base of people who support and care for one another's causes.
Excellent.
Just real briefly, it's real simple, profit. We've structured our system that we pay 12% on our mining app that pools the funds in the local currency, and we lend it out at roughly half the going rate that predatory lenders lend. So again, we couldn't agree with you more. They're charging 100% interest rates in these countries for unsecured consumer debt. So we aggregate local funds by paying 12% to aggregate. Nobody here is getting 12% on anything remotely, let's say, socially good out there. So that's our whole model in a nutshell is we pay you 12% to give us the funds to lend out at non-predatory rates in these local currencies.
Beautiful. We're going to take the rest of the questions. I'm going to do it in a unique way. And I'll tell you what it is. Before that, though, I think also we have to look at the narratives of how we're kind of promoting this work. Like, this is blockchain for social good. Like, if this was blockchain for limiting tax liabilities, or, blockchain and opportunity zones, which was a part of the last tax bill, which allows investment in opportunity zone funds in low-income census tracts. And it defers for 7 years any capital gain. So when you're talking to people who say, I'm going to have a lot of capital gains, and I can defer some of that capital gains tax, I either pay it to the government now, or I can defer it through an opportunity zone fund. Now you're talking structures and mechanisms that could probably fill up this room. Because if I just went from 0 to 1 trillion in collective, revenue or gross revenue, and I got to figure out what my EBITDA is going to look like, then I got to reinvest some of that stuff, right? So I think narratives are important. Let's do this real quick. We're going to do what we call lightning questions. So we're going to get everyone's question out real quickly, and then we're going to have the panel just answer them serendipitously until we run out of time in 2 minutes. So you've got to get your question out, and then we'll do everything we can to answer. Let's start this, and we'll go back and forth. This gentleman, then you.
Ryan Westerman from Impact Labs. So my question is, we see a lot of really intrepid visionary spirit in this blockchain community. That's something that this technology kind of brings forth.
Okay.
How do we reshape and recalibrate some of the incentives and approaches such that we're actually taking things in a socially responsible, use case driven and effective manner focused on infrastructure, real use cases and real impact?
Okay.
And overcome some of the misalignments of how people approach this with
One word, decentralization.
Yes.
Like actual decentralization,
Yeah,
not buzzword decentralization.
That's right.
Okay.
This packet project thing that I mentioned is a really good example. They came up with a model 2 years ago, and when they got done looking at it, it looked a lot like UPS. And they said, no, that's not going to change anything.
Right.
It's just so they created a truly decentralized model.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Arnold Strong, I'm the Communications Director for Unify Earth Network. I would tell you, I would ask anybody but Joy to answer this question because I already know how her position is on this, is that how many of you know of or are aligned with, both in the panel and in the room, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and how can we align these efforts for social good in sync with something that 193 nations have approved as the core issues facing our globe that we can resolve in the next 12 years?
I think you just really gave us a call to action for everybody in the room to essentially familiarize themselves with those
Yeah.
and then take action. Anyone want to address that really quickly?
And Joy, that was, of course, a prod for you to actually say, no, I got it.
Okay. Good.
Joy's friend.
Yeah. All right. Yes, thank you.
My name is Diana, and thank you so much for the panelists' time today. So it seems to me that blockchain is a tool for redistribution of resources between developed countries and developing countries. And I personally do a lot of work, volunteer work in Africa, so I just find it so oftentimes cultural gaps and differences can be a challenge as well. So I'm just wondering, do you guys see blockchain as a tool to bridge that gap and to be a facilitator of the global economy in the next generation?
Devin, why don't you close us out with a response to that, and then we'll wrap up.
Yes, absolutely. Blockchain has the potential and is in fact already crossing borders more naturally than any other thing we've probably done since we created borders. And I'm a huge fan of breaking down those borders in so many regards. So yes, it's going to bring us together and help us solve problems. It's great.
Very good.
And I say how we change the world is change ourselves, and the world will change.
All right. Let's give our esteemed panel an amazing round of applause. And please enjoy the rest of your crypto investment. Thank you.
Great job.